Alright, here we go again. We are looking at Unit 2, Lesson 2 on graphing linear equations. Hopefully this should be our quickest video as we're going to move through this pretty quickly. You've done most of this before. So let's go ahead and get started with your typical graphing of a linear equation. You're very familiar with slope-intercept form. You get to use that a lot. And hopefully you've seen y equals mx plus b before. I'm pretty sure everyone in here has seen and used that on multiple occasions where m stands for your slope and b stands for your y-intercept. And so I've put an example up here. Most of you are very familiar with this. We simply take your y-intercept of 3, and that tells us on our y-axis we're going to intersect the axis at 3. So there's my first dot. And then my slope of negative 1/2. I purposely picked a negative slope here because a lot of people struggle with that. The negative 1/2 tells us we go down 1, right 2. A lot of people want to go down 1 and left 2. Well, if you make two negative actions, that creates a fraction with a negative over a negative, which actually makes the slope positive. So when we're graphing our lines, we simply start at our y-intercept, apply our slope, and draw our line. A couple of quick things about that, things you need to be careful of. Number one, if the slope is a whole number, you need to make sure you are putting the slope over 1. So therefore, if you have a slope of 3, that tells you to go up 3 over 1. And the other thing you need to be careful of is always double checking your answer to make sure your slope matches up. So in our example, we have a negative slope. That means our line falls as you go from left to right. And so therefore, you want to make sure your graph always matches up there. Make sure you didn't make a mistake in your graphing process. Always double check. And make sure that if you have a negative slope, your line is falling or going down as you go left to right. If you have a positive slope, your line should be going up or rising as you go left to right. And something that you're going to hear me talk about a lot in here is remembering what your graph represents. When you're graphing a linear equation, remember the 4 faces from yesterday. It's not just a slope and a y-intercept. You're graphing the set of points that are solutions to that equation. So every point that falls on the line could be plugged into x and y in your equation. In our example, negative 1/2 x plus 3 equals y. You could plug in every point on that line for x and y and it would remain equal. And so that's what the graph is representing. The graph is all the solutions to that equation. And so that's why we make sure we put arrows on the end, because we're talking about every possible solution. It will continue on beyond the points we graph. A couple of special graphs that we need to look at briefly here are equations like y equals a number, where you do not have an x value in the equation. That means your slope was 0 in order to not have an x value in the equation, which means it's going to be a horizontal line. So the line y equals 2 is graphed in red here. We need to just make sure that we don't get confused with the y-axis. Y equals a number is a horizontal line. The y-axis is a vertical line. So it's natural for people to flip those around and have them go the wrong way. You just need to make sure you're careful with that. So you might want to put that in your notes, that y equals 2 is a horizontal line. And the reason why it's horizontal is the equation is saying your y value is always 2. So our graph is all the set of points that have a y value of 2. For example, the point 0, 2, 2, 2, 5, 2, negative 7, 2. Those are all points that have a y value of 2. So we graph that line that represents all those points. And so then it should follow to make sense that x equals negative 4 would give us a vertical line. And that is an undefined slope, like we talked about yesterday. Your vertical line has an undefined slope, so when you go to do x equals negative 4, it is all the set of points where your x value is negative 4, so that line is drawn in blue there. Those are our special graphs you need to be aware of. And that's all we're going to look at today. I told you it was going to be a short video, just a quick review of graphing. It's something you absolutely have to be able to do. And tomorrow we're also going to look at how to use our calculator to play with the graphing functions a little bit. So you'll want to make sure you have a graphing calculator tomorrow. If you don't have one, borrow one from someone. There are many people who have math next semester in college prep math that probably have a calculator you could borrow, or someone from first block algebra 2 also you could find who has a calculator. So make sure you have a graphing calculator tomorrow, as we're going to practice using those in class tomorrow. All right, have a nice day.